What does Mr. Owen Jones have to say about it?
Well, there we have it. Germany is arming Israel to the teeth, despite knowing it's committing terrible crimes. It knows what's going on. You can tell from the statements. They're not stupid, these people.
See, what did he just... What? Owen Jones is painting a picture of the German political class who believe that Israel is doing a ethnic cleansing, genocide, apartheid, war crime, white supremacy, all the other things. But they're okay with it because Jews doing it, and that makes Germany feel good about the Holocaust. That's insane. Okay, what is happening at the ICJ, the World Court, the highest court of the land? Well, Nicaragua has taken Germany to the stand and accused them of facilitating a genocide, i.e. the Israeli genocide of Palestine. And they've also accused them of doing that through two means. One, through arming Israel as they carry out their assault on Gaza, and by failing in their obligation to prevent said genocide by cutting funding from relevant humanitarian groups, primarily UNRWA. That's like the general accusation brought forth by Nicaragua. There are a few objections that one can make to this. Germany has given their case. We'll start with a bad one. If you want to be lazy, you can just say, who are Nicaragua to talk about human rights when their president is a human rights fuckface, basically. Been president since 2007. Not very good, pretty oppressive, pretty bad on the world stage as well. When Russia annexed 4 territories in Ukraine, Kherson, Zaporizhia, Donetsk, and Luhansk, about a year into the war, only 4 countries rejected the General Assembly resolution to condemn Russia. Those 4 countries were Belarus, obviously, North Korea, Syria, and Nicaragua. So Nicaragua actually rejected a condemnation of Russia for annexing 4 territories in Ukraine, like not Crimea, like South and Eastern Ukraine. So that's pretty insane. But none of that takes away from whether or not this case makes any sense. So you want to challenge it on its terms. The first accusation they've made is on Germany's failure to provide aid to Palestinians as they are being genocided and as they are facing a humanitarian aid crisis. The argument that the Nicaraguans gave was that was primarily focused on Israel's defunding of UNRWA. The Germans responded by saying, we haven't actually defunded UNRWA. We've just said that we're going to pause looking at any new funding allocations for UNRWA. So they didn't stop anything. They didn't take any money back. They just had a blank period where they said, we're not going to look into funding UNRWA for the foreseeable future. Some countries have since resumed allowing their funds to go to UNRWA, since it turns out that the Israeli claims were kind of exaggerated, even according to American intelligence. They weren't completely false according to American intelligence, but some of it was definitely like taken too far. And I think some information was gathered by means of torture. So, however, Germany doesn't actually... That argument that Germany made, that we're just not going to add new funding, even though we've had a pattern of funding UNRWA for a long time, when it seems like UNRWA are needed the most, might not be the greatest defense. Obviously, I don't know if Germany's obligated to give aid just to UNRWA, because they can actually give aid to other organizations. And what I thought would be good to look at, as I was going through this case, was what Germany's history is of funding Palestinians, because we're about to find out they give a lot of arms to Israel. But what do they do for Palestine? Well, in 2018, the data seems to be that donations to UNRWA, actually 2016, Germany was 3rd. The United States doing the bulk of it, then Saudi Arabia, and then Germany. So they're above the United Kingdom, Sweden, Japan, Switzerland, Norway. They're giving some money to UNRWA at least, and have done in the past. And obviously, not renewing this in the middle of a war is a pretty big statement. But there are other organizations that you can fund in UNRWA. And my position always was that if you're a country that has been donating to UNRWA and you're not going to continue it for a foreseeable future, I think that's fine if you think some of the allegations have some credibility, as long as you're willing to move that money somewhere else. I think ethically you have to move that money somewhere else. that provides humanitarian aid for Palestinians. As for what Germany did, well, 2023, which I think included October, Germany were the biggest source of coordinated plan funding for Palestinians. This is Occupied Palestinian Territory Humanitarian Response Plan 2023 by OCHA. 30% of it, they were above United States, above the European Commission, above the UAE, Japan. That was 2023. 2024, this is a breakdown of funding. Yeah, to Occupy Palestinian Territory, 2024, just this year. Data as of the 7th of April, so 3 days ago. Well, you can see here, there's funding by source. We got UAE doing almost a quarter of it. Obviously, they've been very busy in Gaza lately, the UAE. Second, Germany. $69,605,139. They actually lead America. 10.6% of the funding is from Germany and 10.4% United States. This 19.7 is just all other funding. European Commission, Switzerland, Belgium, Japan, United Kingdom, private organizations, Denmark. So I feel like Nicaragua is not going to have a very good case there, trying to say that Germany is aiding a genocide by failing to provide humanitarian aid. Feels like Germany are pulling their weight pretty hard on humanitarian issues. The military situation might be a bit harder. Germany gives a lot of military aid to Israel, actually second only after the United States, and a long way away from third, which is Italy. So 65% US, 29% Germany, 4.7% Italy. The argument that the Germans have made in the ICJ, and they've been fairly detailed in this, at least as far as what they're saying, obviously it could be disputed, they have basically argued that legally, in order for you to be facilitating a genocide, you need to be giving weapons that actually are capable of directly causing irreparable harm to the rights of the Palestinians under the Genocide Convention. And Germany have basically argued that the arms they have given are not those kinds of arms. So I think down here, they argued that since October, because well, so we'll go here first. The first argument they made is that Nicaragua basically showed a massive list of approvals that Germany made for arms sales to Israel. And it's looking like this is the counter that Germany gave, is that they approved a whole bunch of arms sales in October 2023, obviously in response to October 7th. But then after that, possibly based on Israel's campaign, or I'm not sure, the approvals have gone way, way down. And the argument that Germany's made is that the funding that they're giving, the exports that they're giving to, that they're selling to Israel for arms, they've argued that since October, there have been 4 exports of weapons of war to Israel, 3 of which concern test or practice equipment. So equipment that cannot directly violate the rights under the Genocide Convention. And that 98% of military exports to Israel since the October 7th attacks were not weapons of war, but other equipment. The other equipment they're talking about are things like helmets and the like. So if someone might want to argue that, well, all that's doing, giving them the helmets and everything, they still need that stuff to actually go in and use the actual offensive weapons that directly violate the rights. And Germany is still aiding and abetting by doing that. But that will be a legal argument. I don't know if it's going to stand. I don't know if, because the standard for plausibility in the ICJ is quite low for the Genocide Convention, and I know people like Norman Finkelstein say otherwise, but that opinion is not just mine. It's actually the opinion of an ICJ judge in Gambia, Myanmar. Where is it? Yeah, in 2020, Judge Kress in the Gambia v. Myanmar, there was a whole dispute here because Myanmar were trying to say that the plausibility standard should be higher, and they were basically shot down. That, where is it? Low? Yeah, that the court applied a low plausibility standard with respect to the question of genocidal intent. So to me, this Nicaragua case seems pretty frivolous. It might still lead to provisional measures. They might not be the provisional measures that Nicaragua wants, same with South Africa. The provisional measures that were asked for by Nicaragua, I think, were for Israel to suspend all their arms sales to Germany, and I think to increase humanitarian aid. I don't really know the humanitarian aid argument, if they can really do that, if they can tell a country that's already pulling its weight pretty hard with aid to go further. But what they can do is they probably will be able to, or they might, I don't actually know, they might be able to pass the plausibility threshold because it's quite low. And if they found in the South Africa case that the rights under the Genocide Convention raised by South Africa are plausible and are at risk of harm, because that's what it said, then are at risk of irreparable harm, then that could mean that Germany arming the country that's in that position, Israel, that might implicate them as well. I don't know, though. I don't know. To me, it seems like a pretty frivolous case, but that doesn't mean it won't. That doesn't mean it's definitely going to get shot down at the first stage. Because I think the ICJ's entire thing is they don't want to ever be the court that missed the genocide. That's why the plausibility standard being low actually makes sense. I don't think Nicaragua is likely to get the provisional measures they're asking for, but we'll see. We'll see. So that's my TLDR. Let's see. And I've never really covered a full video of this dude for quite a while, so what does Mr. Owen Jones have to say about it? Germany tried, capital letters, for Gaza genocide, justifies actions because of the Holocaust. Interesting. Let's go.
Germany is on trial at the International Court of Justice for its role in Israel's genocidal war against Gaza. Now, this case has been brought by Nicaragua, and it centres on Germany's arms sales to Israel, which represent about 30% of the total global arms sales to Israel. In 2023, Germany approved weapons sales to Israel worth over 326 million euros. Last November, in the midst of Israel's onslaught against Gaza, military exports from Germany to Israel increased by around tenfold, thanks to the German government fast-tracking permits. So Germany is the second biggest supplier of weapons to Israel after, of course, the United States. So many of you may be wondering, why the hell is it Germany being hauled before the ICJ and not the US, given that is, after all, Israel's biggest arms dealer, without which Israel simply would not be able to pursue the horrific onslaught against Gaza? Very simple reasons. The US opted out of the relevant parts of the Genocide Convention and the ICJ statutes. Germany hasn't. Now, last week, after I debated an Israeli so-called influencer, I was involved as a consequence in a huge online firestorm.
The Sky thing. Oh, God. It was such a weird clip. Hang on. He'll talk about it. Let's see.
Because I said that Germany was forcing the Palestinian people to pay for its own grievous crimes. That is the attempt, within living memory, to exterminate the Jewish people in the Shoah. Succeeded in murdering 2/3 of the entire Jewish population of Europe in a very short period of time.
I think the problem with what Owen Jones said was that he said Germany has decided to make the Palestinians pay for the Holocaust, which sounds a lot like intent. It sounds like you're saying that Germany said, like, that they actually felt so guilty about the Holocaust that they felt that Palestinians should have to pay, and that they were happy to aid and abet a genocide, like, willingly. Like, it sounds like mens rea. It sounds like it sounds like Germany actually believes that there's a genocide happening, and they're happy to arm it. That's a stretch of what he said. BRB. Fuck you. Okay, you are trolling. You're trolling me so hard. Let's find the clip. Where's the... Oh, God, where is it? He tweets so much. He's tweeted this... I've been scrolling down for like 60 seconds now. It's like we're only at 9 hours. What? Oh, no. Wait, I don't know if all this is TOS friendly. Oh, God. The things we do for evidence. I hope it's on his actual Twitter account. It's in the video. Oh, thanks.
Now, I'm going to go into the case against Germany.
Oh, yeah, it is.
And why it matters. But let's just hear from the clip from that debate I took part in for context. And we'll see why, of course, it is, of course, correct. In terms of arms, Alicia Kearns, the
Whoa.
Conservative MP and chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, in a leaked recording, said that the government had received legal advice that Israel was in defiance of international humanitarian law. What that legally necessitates is Britain ending all arms sales, but also ending all cooperation and sharing intelligence. Now, you're right, Britain doesn't supply that many arms, but if it ends arms sales, that then puts huge pressure.
How much do we have to pay for 1.25x? $100.
On Germany,
We're savoring.
which has decided to make the Palestinian people pay for the grievous crimes it committed by attempting to exterminate the Jewish people.
Come on, have some
Wait, what did he say there? Hang on.
That then puts huge pressure on Germany, which has decided to make the Palestinian people pay for the grievous crimes it committed by attempting to exterminate the Jewish people.
Come on, have some decency.
And the second...
Yeah, they've decided to make the Palestinians pay for the Holocaust. That sounds like they have intent to aid and abet genocide, which it seems to be what... because I think in the Rwandan genocide, there were some figures who did not pass the threshold for dolus specialis. But what they did have the threshold for was a standard mens rea for allowing people who did have dolus specialis to commit genocide. That happened in the case against Rwanda. When he's saying they decided, that sounds like mens rea. I don't know. That's like if you're saying, what you could say is Germany feels like they need to support Israel because of the Holocaust. And that, to an extent, that is true. They say that, they say that openly. But the problem is, as a result, is that it's basically like that guilt is being taken out on the Palestinians in ways that it shouldn't be. Like that would be a more fair way of saying it. But when you add that rhetorical flourish, you just sound like you are leading people to a conclusion, potentially, that is so much more egregious and unprovable. Because the problem is that the German left, and I think one of the reasons, actually, that this happens, that Germany's aid to Palestine right now is so high, higher than the United States in some areas, and it's been quite high consistently, even before the war, is because German leftists actually make the same argument for Palestinians. They say that, look, the ones who believe that it's like a genocide or war crimes or anything like that will say that, look what we did in the Holocaust, we should feel obligated to support them. So that's why Germany gives so much aid to Palestinians. That's part of the reasoning. That's not why all of them make that decision, but they clearly do stand out in terms of proportionality to their size.
I won't let you. The memory of the Holocaust will not be used this way. How dare you? You're not Jewish. Don't do that.
Also, was there ever actually any debate here? Was there ever actually an argument posted well, why is this fucking retard just coming in and saying oh, you're not Jewish. How dare you? That's really fuck off, man. You're supposed to present your case and make an argument for it. You could maybe ask Owen Jones. I would just like to ask a clarifying question. Do you think Germany is giving arms to Israel because they believe Israel is committing genocide? Just ask him that question, because then he immediately has to either commit to an insane position or he has to soften his rhetoric and say, well, no, I don't think that's what they're doing, right? You get that clarification. I think he would say the latter, though. I don't think he believes that. I don't know what Owen Jones believes, but that's one very simple thing you could do. You don't even need to make an argument. You could just ask a question. Just ask a clarifying question. Because when people always make these rhetorical tricks, when people do these rhetorical embellishments, you just need to ask them to just try and confirm with them if they believe a fairly logical conclusion to what they're saying. So when people say, for example, this happened in the Finkelstein-Benny Morris Destiny Rabbani debate, didn't it? What was there was a question. It was the four kids who were killed at the Gaza beach. And I think the IDF side of the story was that they were teenagers who were just on their way out of what was identified as a Hamas compound. But Finkelstein said that they were targeted, right? And then I think they asked him, Benny Morris actually asked him, do you think the IDF, the entire chain of command from the top to the bottom of whatever, 10, 20 people involved in that, with this insanely expensive equipment, like the drone strike and the Hellfire and everything, actually just said, there are 4 Palestinian kids here, just go get them. And every point of the chain of command just said, yeah, we're just going to go all the way over to Gaza Beach. We're going to spend between $500,000 and $1 million to just take out 4 kids for the lols. And then suddenly, the people who constantly say that Israel targets civilians didn't want to commit to it. Because when you present it in that way, with that level of absurdity, they don't want to commit to it. If anyone can find that clip exactly, you can put it in the stream chat. It'd be good to have it come up because I think it's a really good example. Actually, let's just transcript it because they don't say the word beach very often in this debate, do they? Beach. Here.
When they agree with you, though.
No.
You've lied about this particular instance.
Here.
You've lied about this particular instance in the past. Those kids weren't just on
Benny's laughing at Destiny here. He hates him.
the beach, as is often stated in articles. Those kids were literally coming out of a previously identified Hamas compound that they had operated from. They literally did. You can Google it. You can Google it.
With all due respect, you're such a fantastic moron. It's terrifying. That wharf was filled with journalists. There were tens, scores of journalists. That was an old fisherman's shack. What are you talking about? It's so painful. It's so painful to listen to this idiocy.
And to be clear, on the other side, you're implying that a strike was okayed on the Israeli side, where they said, we're just going to kill 4 Palestinian children today for no reason.
Do you believe that?
Do you believe that? Do you believe that? Right, as you said, right, there was a hotel of journalists. Do you think that they would actually kill 4 children?
Here we go.
You will never answer that
I
question.
will answer the question.
Pilots were out to
I will even answer
children.
And it was approved because that was a strike. That was a drone strike. So it was approved all the way up the chain that we're going to kill children today. We're going to kill Palestinian children today.
You want me to answer, or do you want your motor mouth to go? Okay, answer. In 2018, there was the Great March of Return in Gaza. By all reckonings of human...
I forgot he did that. You want an answer to that question about the beach? All right. In this other completely unrelated event... Fuck, dude. I'm sorry. I don't even blame Finkelstein, okay? He's making bank and he's got a reputation. People love, he's doing fine behaving like this. People love it. It's the viewers. It's the people who hate debate bros who think this is good engagement. Like, what the
human rights organizations and journalists who were there, it was overwhelmingly nonviolent.
But organized by the Hamas.
Whoever organized...
Yeah, the beach story's gone. And Benny Morris isn't enough of a debate bro to hold him to the beach point. Yeah, they wouldn't answer that question because when you... Even though it's the logical conclusion of what they're saying, Israel targets civilians. They targeted 4 kids at a beach. Well, okay, so do you think the entire, like the chain of command involved in that strike and the amount of money that was involved in that strike, they actually decided that we're just going to send an incredibly expensive drone over just to get 4 random kids for no reason? Yeah, I'll answer that question. Okay, yeah. In 2018, at the Great March of Return, okay, come on. So long story short, I would ask Owen Jones just to either commit to or walk back the logical conclusion of the rhetorical flourish.
Really, don't do it.
It shouldn't be used to force the Palestinians.
Even for you, it's a red line.
Shouldn't be used to force the Palestinians.
Let's be clear.
Now,
he's making his point by pointing to previous accounts of IDF targeting civilians. Alex D, my adorable summer child. No, he's not. Because if he did, he would just say, yeah, I think that's what happened. Here's an example of them doing it as well. Less ambiguously, maybe. But he didn't say that. He didn't say a yes or a no. You could, though. He didn't commit to it. He did not commit to it.
I think Hen believes that you are disparaging the memory of the Holocaust.
Of course, he just did.
No, I didn't.
I said Germany is making Palestinians pay for the 6 million Jews that were killed in the Holocaust.
Yes, I absolutely
did. This is absolutely disgusting. I can't believe you.
I stand by what I said.
Well done, son. Well done. It's disgusting. How's he gonna respond to that?
Because it's absolutely true.
Are you saying that Germany is supporting Israel because of what happened?
Yes, it believes it
rather
can
than punishing the Palestinians.
It believes Germany.
See, the interviewer is trying to do what I'm saying, but you know.
Germany has decided it can make up for its obscene guilt by forcing somebody else to pay for the crimes that Germany committed. It's a very straightforward point. There's nothing offensive about it. It's a very
Of course it's offensive. I'm telling you it's offensive, and I'm a Jewish Israeli.
In terms of our
still will not take it back.
No,
because you don't care about Jews. Because you don't care about anti-Semitism.
You know what's interesting? I interviewed a German Israeli. I interviewed a German Israeli.
Let's go.
And people should check that. I interviewed a German Israeli.
One person's opinion is not definitive. And I think I do need to...
They're shutting down Jewish people in Germany who speak about Gaza.
Now, I'll go through the response to that clip after we hear exactly what...
For example, when someone says something like that, they are shutting down Jewish people in Germany for speaking about Gaza or who speak about Gaza. And it's like, okay, is there a case of someone who just spoke about Gaza and got shut down? Or give an example of someone. What did they actually say? Or is it actually the case in Germany? Because I hate this. Like, I hate this simplifying that people do because it's so effective. It's so effective because there might be cases of people in Germany who were silenced for saying things that were probably problematic, but not enough that you deserve to fucking get like shut down in a university or whatever. But we just don't know. It's honest. It's what right-wingers do. It's what right-wingers did for the longest time. Oh, I was silenced for talking about trans issues. You read the article, and 2 paragraphs down, what they did is they went into a gay bar and fucking screamed, "Get your dicks out, fucking T-slurs," and then they got thrown out. And it's like, I was silenced for talking about trans issues. It's that same technique. It's so cringe. Ugh. Pasta, thanks for the 20 Swedish. Like this, not clear enough instructions. Oh, because I said subscribe. Nice one. Sire Durf, thanks for the £5. You're only doing that because of Holocaust guilt is actually a far-right talking point against any progressive advocacy in German political discourse. That might be true, but I think don't Germans also say that we support Israel because of like we owe them something because of the Holocaust, like the Jewish people? I'm pretty sure the progressives say that as well. Anyway. Dennis, thanks for the tier 2 sub. LonerBox, can you translate them? They are speaking too quickly. Oh yeah, because these guys he's English, isn't he? Northern England.
What's happened in Germany's trial at the ICJ. Before I share some clips and information about this case, some will quite legitimately point to Nicaragua's own bad human rights record, and that's why they are entitled to bring such a case. I share the objections to Nicaragua's human rights record, and this case should be judged on its own merits. That is, the strength of the case.
Great minds.
Another caveat, though, while a legal case such as this clearly has a purpose, I don't believe the legality of Germany arming Israel's genocidal onslaught is the final word. If the court declares it's legal for Germany to arm Israel to the teeth as it wipes Gaza off the map and murders its population, I'm not going to go, oh, fair enough. Same with the Iraq War. If the UN Security Council had approved that horrific onslaught, I wouldn't have supported it. But it is very useful at exposing the crimes currently being committed in Gaza and putting pressure on politicians and indeed helping the cause of accountability. Now, Nicaragua has hired the prestigious German lawyer, Daniel Muller, a German lawyer. I must say, that really is chef's kisses on their part. He makes it clear, based on the statements by Germany's own leaders, that they were perfectly aware of Israel's crimes, but armed them anyway. Let's just hear what he had to say.
Yesterday, it was reported that a group of 600 German civil servants was calling on the government to cease armed deliveries to the Israeli government with immediate effect, exactly because, and I quote, Israel is committing crimes in Gaza that are in clear contradiction to international law and thus to the Constitution, which we are bound to as federal civil servants and public employees. Nevertheless, Germany still has not taken the decision to suspend its military support.
Gwen Poco, thanks for the sub. I feel like there's 2 things to look out for in this video that are very relevant. I mentioned them already. I think it's going to be... I want to see if Owen Jones talks about the allocation of arms, like the breakdown of what kind of arms are being sent, because it seems to be that almost all of them are defensive or are not actually directly lethal, which I think legally matters. Or if he's going to talk about the amount of aid that Germany gives to Palestine. We'll see.
And the export of military equipment to Israel. Rather, in a recent response to a series of questions asked by members of the Bundestag, The government reiterated its position that export licenses will be considered on a case-by-case basis and in light of specific circumstances. Members of the court, to put it simple, highest German officials have recognized that the situation in Gaza raises doubts about the respect of elementary rules of international law, and that these questions need to be addressed. Yet, while we speak, the export of German weapons and military equipment to Israel, likely to be used for committing these grave violations of international law, is continuing.
Let's go to hear from...
The title is Genocide in Gaza. Oh yeah, Al Jazeera does that all the time. Yeah, that's what Al Jazeera does.
These grave violations of international law.
Every time you put on Al Jazeera, they have this like coming up every now and then. It's always there, basically.
Is continuing.
Let's go to hear from Mueller on the justifications offered by Germany's leaders about their behaviour as regards Palestine and Israel.
Members of the court, the Federal Republic was and is aware of the situation, and in any event, could not have ignored it. Despite the very many warnings, alarming reports and messages of the United Nations Secretary General, United Nations Special Rapporteurs, the International Red Cross, and even the European Union's High Representative, Germany continues to assure and implement full support to Israel for its war against Gaza and its population. Addressing the Bundestag on 12th of October 2023, the German Chancellor stated, and I quote, "At this moment, there's only one place for Germany, the place at the side of Israel. That is what we mean when we say that Israel's security is a German raison d'etat. Our own history, our responsibility arising from the Holocaust, makes it our perpetual duty to stand up for the existence and security of the State of Israel. This responsibility guides us." The Minister for Foreign Affairs that said the day before, and I quote her, "Israel's security is a German raison d'etat. With this understanding, I have offered Israel all our support in every area."
Well, there we have it. Germany is arming Israel to the...
LonerBox, why should Germans today feel about the Holocaust 80 years later when it didn't cause any systemic issues like slavery did in the US? It kind of did cause systemic issues. What are you talking? Holocaust survivors are still fairly disadvantaged, even the ones in Israel. You know how in between the Nakba and the mid-50s, about 800,000 Mizrahi and Sephardic Jews went to Israel, right? And part of that was because of the Holocaust, right? It was because of Nazi-inspired pogroms and people being held in concentration camps, and the local populations there often taking a bit of inspiration from Nazism and taking it out on them after the State of Israel was formed. And they left and they abandoned all their property and wealth to go to Israel, where they were discriminated against by the Ashkenazi population and where they've still been like economically behind it ever since, even though the gap's closing. But yeah, like no, the Jews still have they even made up for their population loss since the Holocaust? I don't even know if they have. They lost like a third of their global population. I don't think they've actually recovered to their pre-Holocaust numbers yet. Okay. 2015, Washington Post. Have they rebounded? Not exactly. There's a graph here, but it's paywalled. Fuck. Is it going to be in images? Be in images. Yeah, look at it. That's 2014. They're still catching up. 16 million pre-Holocaust, 14 million 2014. Yeah, got a little bit to go.
The teeth, despite knowing it's committing terrible crimes. It knows what's going on. You can tell from the statements. They're not stupid, these people.
See, I would... What did he just... What?
No, it have it.
Israel, all our support in every area.
Well, there we have it. Germany is arming Israel to the teeth, despite knowing it's committing terrible crimes. It knows what's going on. You can tell from the statements.
So, okay, I'm sorry. Listen, Alex D, I need you to eat a metric ton of humble pie, you slimy... I told you when Owen Jones said that about Germany deciding to make Palestinians pay for the Holocaust. I said that sounds like mens rea. That sounds like they know they're abetting a genocide to alleviate guilt from the Holocaust. You said I was stretching what he's saying. Now, lo and behold, Owen Jones comes out and says they know what they're doing. Look at the statement. Those statements did not prove that Germany thinks they're fucking facilitating a genocide, you fucking idiot. Like, he just said it. He committed to the bit. One more time.
Well, there we have
it. What were the statements? We stand by Israel. You know, the previous one they talk about because of the Holocaust, because of Israel's security. But apparently this is evidence that the Germans know they're facilitating a genocide. What part of this is them acknowledging that they think that they're facilitating war crimes and genocide? None of those statements suggested that. Interesting. And Owen Jones, like I said, it sounded like he was saying,
offered Israel all our support in every area.
Well, there we have it. Germany is arming Israel to the teeth, despite knowing it's committing terrible crimes. It knows what's going on. You can tell from the statements. They're not stupid, these people. And knowing full well that Israel has, over the last few decades, engaged in murderous ethnic cleansing against Palestinians, the longest belligerent occupation of modern times, the longest siege of modern times, theft of land, illegal colonization, repeated murderous attacks on Palestinians. We could go on. And the justification for Germany to unequivocally back Israel is the Holocaust, the gravest single crime committed in human history by the German state.
So how do people watch this shit? Like, none of those statements. You can point to just highlight a part of one of those statements that's Germany acknowledging that they feel like they're facilitating a genocide and they're doing it because. I feel like you should be able, if you want to argue against a particular statement or a particular position, you should be able to understand that position. It's not hard to see that Germany believes that Israel, the Jewish state security, the safe space for Jews in the world, needs to deserve security in the face of threats surrounding them. So Germany arms them, but Germany doesn't actually want to participate in the worst excesses of Israel. So they arm Israel with things that cannot directly, irreparably harm their rights under the Genocide Convention. That's why they don't give them things like shells and all that. Instead they sell them helmets or things that are only usable for training. It's just such a so this is the picture that Owen Jones is painting. Owen Jones is painting a picture of the German political class who believe that Israel is doing a ethnic cleansing, genocide, apartheid, war crime, white supremacy, all the other things, but they're okay with it because Jews doing it, and that makes Germany feel good about the Holocaust. That's the position he's just committed to. He just said it. That's insane.
In other words, Germany is forcing the Palestinian people to pay for what the German state has done, the obscene crime of the German state. That was a point made by the German Chancellor, their equivalent, the Prime Minister, Olaf Scholz, on the 17th of October. Here's a translation of what he said just after he spoke during a press conference with the Israeli Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu.
Mr. Prime Minister, the security and safety of Israel and its citizens...
On par with Holocaust denial, you think? I don't think you need to say that. No, I don't think it's on par with Holocaust. It's just retarded. That's what it is. Is that okay? Is it okay to use that word? As opposed to Holocaust denial? It's just incredibly stupid is what it is.
Is part of Germany's raison d'etre and political doctrine.
The only thing you would need to ask is why is Germany giving so much aid to Palestinians then? Does Owen Jones know that they're giving that much aid to Palestinians? Is he going to get into it? Maybe he will. But is he going to do the all roads lead to Rome? They're doing that. They're actually giving they're actually, at certain points in certain areas, the biggest donors of aid to Palestine. They're only doing that because it gives them plausible deniability to fund the genocide with the other hand. They're basically just giving it, they're giving the aid on one hand, but it doesn't, because to people that they know are just going to die 5 minutes later. Which again, you were just adding more to the fucking comic villain that we got going on here.
And we wish to behave accordingly as the German government. The German parliament has supported this approach, and all parties subscribe to.
What's he saying here? What's he saying? This is him saying that he's helping a genocide happen to alleviate Holocaust guilt.
Mr. Prime Minister, the security and safety of Israel and its citizens is part of Germany's raison d'être and political doctrine, and we wish to behave accordingly as the German government. The German parliament has supported this approach, and all parties subscribe to that. It is very important to say this now at such difficult times for Israel. German history and the responsibility that results from the Holocaust requires that we help safeguard the existence and safety of the State of Israel.
Now, indeed, we can hear Jim.
There's a problem, I think, when when people talk about people who advocate either for Israel or Palestine, who tend to treat it like a zero-sum game. They understand that there are two national groups living in that area, but they don't think it's reasonable or just or fair or whatever for both sides to have their slice, whether it's like two-state solution or a binational one-state solution where they can both feel represented and secure and have their dignity and their live in a society that reflects their cultural and political will. There's none of that. They just think it's a zero-sum game. Either if you're pro-Israeli, you think Palestinians are too violent. They're too fucking crazy. They just need to go to the Arab states, and Israel just needs to take the whole land for fucking security reasons, and also because it's ours because of history or Bible or whatever. That's like the pro-Israeli side in a nutshell. For zero-sum game argument. The Palestinian side of it is that this land was always stolen. We were always here first. They kicked us out slowly at first with the evictions, then quickly with the Nakba. Why should we let someone stay in our living room just because they arrived 75 years ago, whatever? So it all belongs to us. I feel like the zeros, and obviously if both sides believe that, if that's the broad consensus of either side, the thing is that if you believe that, the war basically continues until one side is wiped off the face of the earth or kicked out to a different place. And we know who wins in that situation. So if you're a Palestinian who takes that side, it's kind of especially weird, I think. But I feel like the zero-sum game allegations are not really going past Owen when he just heard that Olaf Scholz statement where he talks about how Israeli security is a big priority for Germany. It's weird that you hear Israeli security and your head goes genocide of Palestinians. I don't know why you think that has to be a zero-sum game. But apparently Olaf Scholz admitting to endorsing Palestinian genocide is because he said we're committed to Israeli security. It can't possibly be that some people believe Israeli security can exist without Palestinian genocide. Okay. It's very strange.
Germany's own case presented by their lawyer at the ICJ.
Germany has learned from its past that includes the response.
He approved of their approach to the attack on Gaza. He approved in them having a cause for war against people who broke through their border and massacred 1,200 people. If you're saying there's there should be more objection to the way the war is being carried out from Germany, then yeah, you can go into that. I feel like one of those implicit objections is the fact that they don't actually, that their arms sales to Israel are focused mostly on stuff that's either defensive or secondary, as in not directly lethal stuff. But yeah, anyway, let's see.
Responsibility for one of the most horrific crimes in human history, the Shoah. This explains one of the principles.
Also, the Mott and Bailey here is so gross. Owen's claim, the controversial claim, was that Germany is intentionally aiding a genocide to alleviate Holocaust guilt. But now he's proving that argument by having a bunch of people saying that Germany supports Israel's security because of Holocaust guilt. These are two different things. There's a massive Mott and Bailey. Anyway, that works, I guess.
Which our foreign policy with regard to all Middle East issues rests. Our history is the reason why Israel's security has been at the core of German foreign policy. To the Knesset of 18 March 2008, Germany's then Chancellor Angela Merkel spoke about Germany's special historical responsibility for Israel's security as part of Germany's raison d'etat. Federal Chancellor Olaf Scholz.
There is again Israeli security, which my head will translate into Palestinian genocide. Okay.
Reiterated this point in his speech to the German Bundestag on 12 October 2023. I quote, "Our own history, our responsibility deriving from the Holocaust, makes it our permanent duty to stand up for the existence and security of the State of Israel. This responsibility guides us."
Well, again, there we have it. Germany itself is saying that its position towards Israel and Palestine is driven by its genocidal history. Germany must know that what it describes as Israel's security in practice means depriving Palestinians of their rights on a whole range of fronts. At the moment, on a massive scale, their right to life. But Germany knows that it is not paying that price. The rights of German citizens are not being attacked. It's the rights of another people being attacked. Now, the US professor of international law, Robert Howes, writes, Nicaragua versus Germany, the ICJ. Germany's agent weakens case by admitting that Holocaust guilt is the overriding consideration in putting Israel's security beyond other normative imperatives. Their raison d'etat, her words, of Israel's security above all else versus international law. Well, that really is the key point, how they have decided they should...
So again, a way around this argument is just to ask, is all Israeli security at the expense of Palestinians? Is there no such thing as Israeli security that doesn't hurt Palestinians? Like, should Israelis have any security at all? Like, should they have anti-aircraft or like anti-missiles? Should they have the Iron Dome? Should it all go? Like, or is the only interpretation of Israeli security the slaughter of Palestinians? Like,
respond to their past. That is their interpretation of what Israel's security means, which in practice means deferring to how the Israeli state defines its security, which is by definition attacking the rights of the Palestinian people. That overrides other considerations. As Kenneth Roth, the excellent former executive director of Human Rights Watch, himself the son of a Jewish refugee who fled the Nazis, Germany defends itself at the International Court of Justice by saying that its foreign policy after the Holocaust is built...
I assume he believes in one state with right of return, so doesn't think Israel should exist so as to need defending. Yeah, definitely. I haven't heard him say that word for word, but it would be like almost 100% sure that's what he believes, yeah.
Built around defending Israel rather than preventing mass atrocities. That's the wrong lesson to draw. Now let's listen here to how Tomer Doughton Dreyfus, a German-Israeli author, put it to me.
I think that they are very good in
I also hate this, like, I guess like you want to... You could probably say that you're amplifying like a minority opinion. That's probably fine, but I don't think Owen Jones ever really acknowledges that. Does he not? Like, I don't think he ever gets around that. Like, oh, I spoke to a Jewish person who agrees with me, even though like the overwhelming majority of Jews in the world would take the complete opposite position to me. I don't think he ever gets to that. Like, it's a really poor representation. Like when the kind of people who try to say that like Zionism is the same as anti-Semitism. Like, I feel like if I took on someone from the West Bank who agrees with me on my stream, I feel like I'd have to tell you guys that this is not, whoever is in the West Bank who agrees with me does not fucking represent the average person in the West Bank. Right? Like the average, because I think the most popular party in the West Bank right now is Hamas. Obviously, like, anyone from the West Bank who agrees with me is not going to be representative. But I feel like they always do this. It's like, poll UK Jews support, even if the UK, yeah, it's 8 out of 10 British Jews who identify as Zionist. I think that's even higher than the ratio of American Jews. US Jews support Israel. See, 2023 or 2021 was 58% very or somewhat emotionally attached to Israel. What about German Jews? Since we're talking about Germany. German Jews polling Israel. What did German Jews think about Israel? I can see Germans, but not German Jews. What do German Jews think about Israel? Some German Jews say their country goes too far. Okay, what does that mean? Is that a poll or find themselves attacked for anti-Semitism? Come on. Surely the people want to know what the German Jews think. Why not? I wonder if there's any country, actually. Is there any country where most of the Jews in that country oppose Israel? If anyone can find that for me, you can send it. But I don't think I've ever seen that before. That would be new to me. Not impossible, but okay. All right. Iran. Isn't Iran like one of the countries in that area that's actually kind of a little bit nicer to their Jewish population than the other ones, even though their leader's a Holocaust denier and shit?
In remembering and reparations, as long as they don't really have to pay the price for it. They are not the one that have to give up land. They're not the ones who have to, even when they gave money, even in the reparations agreement from the 50s, it was money to Israel so that Israel can buy weapons and infrastructure from the German industry. It was boosting the German industry. And in return, Israel promised them that the Holocaust survivors in Israel would not be eligible to...
Do you remember the 2 Afghan Jews? Oh, of course, how can you forget the 2 Afghan Jews? The last Jews in Afghanistan. And they hate each other.
Sue Germany independently. So it was a very messy, very dirty...
It's 1 now. No, it's not. It's 0. The last one left after the Taliban came back. But yeah, the older one died, and the younger one said he was happy to be rid of him. and then the Taliban came into power, and the last one left as well. That's the story of the last Jews in Afghanistan.
Deal. And they are, on the one hand, presenting themselves as world champions of memory and memory culture and all this kind of stuff. On the other hand, they have turned memory culture into the realm through which they can find their nationalism again. German nationalism today is around supporting Israel. It's around this historical responsibility and their interpretation of it. And one could also say that, because it's not very legitimate to manifest German nationalism after the Second World War, they're doing it through Israel. They're waving the Israeli flags. Because Israel is the country of the victims. So how can they be wrong?
So all of that makes the intense backlash I received all the more absurd, although it's not unexpected. Anyone who speaks out against the current horror is liable to come into attack.
This is actually insane. Like the hackery that's going on here. First of all, the incredible Mott and Bailey over people saying they support Israeli security, which means they must be supporting Palestinian genocide. And then he gets the one fucking Jew guy to come and to confirm the thing, who is almost 100% not representative of the average Jew opinion in any like Western European country. God. Are we going to ever hear about the aid or the breakdown of military exports from Germany? Are you going to hear about that?
Let's just take, for example, this tweet by Dave Rich, the head of policy
maybe
at
after the
Community
tweets.
Security Trust.
Maybe we'll see it after the tweets. Okay.
He tweeted, "This is what it looks like when a once serious journalist turns himself into a social media outrage machine and then trots out his YouTube clickbait material on a regular news show. The dismissive, there's nothing offensive about something so obviously offensive is perfect." Note the classic strategy here. Don't try and rebut someone's argument. Don't try and show why it's wrong. Just attack the person. Claim they have ulterior purposes. In this case, that I'm trying to provoke outrage. I never try to provoke outrage. I say what I think. It causes outrage sometimes because, in my view, lots of people get outraged about actually what should be very sensible things. For the last few months, people have been very outraged against me because I think that Israel shouldn't be slaughtering thousands of innocent civilians. I've had a huge amount of outrage over that. I don't think it's justified. I'm not an outrage machine, am I, for objecting to mass murder? But unfortunately, in the current context, that is
I don't recall Owen saying the majority of Jewish people share his sentiments about the war, let alone Israelis. No, he doesn't say that. But what he does is every Jew he brings onto his show, most likely, I don't know if I should know if I don't know how many debates he's doing on here or any. You don't need to say, you just need to make sure that all your Jewish guests are ones who agree with you. And not really ever mention the fact that the Jews who you're interviewing are not representative of the average German Jewish or European Jewish or American Jewish opinion.
Cause a lot of outrage. Now, I'm not suggesting, I don't know actually Dave Rich's current position on Israel's onslaught on Gaza. I'd love to know. But I would note he doesn't try to engage with my actual argument or to rebut it. Not a single person tried to rebut the argument I made for very obvious reasons. They didn't have any rebuttals of what I said. And there's a very obvious, straightforward reason for that. Because what I said was correct. Self-evidently correct. With absolutely nothing offensive about it, unless you're trying to contrive offence. Actually, the people who should be offended are the German state. Because I made a very serious accusation against the German state. Which is they are knowingly engaging in activity which is depriving the rights of the Palestinian people because they think that's payment. That's reparations for what...
Hey, Alex D, he's saying it again. Alex, remember you said that I was making a stretch at Owen Jones's rhetoric and interpreting it, and now he's actually like saying it 100%. Alex D, we're going to play one more for the crowd.
Because they think that's payment. Which is they are knowingly engaging in activity which is depriving the rights of the Palestinian people because they think that's payment. That's reparations for what they did, the German state, not the Palestinians. I had someone suggesting the German state should sue me for that. Don't think that's how defamation law works, I'm afraid.
Oh, I'm sure after we get to the anecdotes and the tweets, we're going to get to we're going to get to the breakdown of German arms sales to Israel and what kind of arms and what kind of military equipment is actually being sent. And then the second thing, we're going to learn about the German aid that goes to Palestine. Why did he not mention that? He didn't even mention Nicaragua's side. He didn't mention Nicaragua's side of the story, which is that Germany cut funding from UNRWA, which they didn't technically do. They didn't cut funding. They just said that for the foreseeable future, we're not going to look into new funding contracts, whilst sending a fuck ton of money to other humanitarian organizations that work in Gaza.
Though, if Germany wants to sue me in the court of law, I mean, they're not going to do it because that wouldn't make any sense. But if they did, I'd relish it. I'd just repeat all their statements. In practice, by the way, this has also meant the German state has waged a remorseless war against those within Germany speaking out against the genocidal war against Gaza by silencing, in terms of arresting, cancelling people from speaking, a whole range of ways. But gruesomely, that's disproportionately meant targeting Jewish people. Indeed, according to the researcher Emily Disch-Becker, around a third of those cancelled in Germany for supposed anti-Semitism are themselves Jewish. Is that how Germany thinks it's going to make up for its genocidal past? By targeting Jews?
What do they mean by, why would they use the word cancelled? This is from The Guardian. Looks like Guardian font. Yeah. Who's this person? I would have thought it would mostly be Muslims who were getting targeted for it, but people wearing keffiyehs and shit. I think Germany, or was it Germany? Yeah, Germany did have one of those weird, like, fucking clampdowns on keffiyehs. Have been Jews. Germany has prescribed many criticisms of Israel, such as describing treatment of Palestinians as apartheid, banned many expressions of solidarity. Main targets have been Muslims, but Jewish supporters of Palestinian rights have been deplatformed and arrested, according to the researcher. Okay. This is the research. Who the fuck? What is this? Where does she? Is there not a paper or like a poll or some stats? It's just a podcast. The Dig. What am I supposed to look for here? Topics. Just a 2-hour podcast. Is that good data?
This has not been balanced or felt that Palestinians can be safely featured because their very existence poses a problem for Germany's idea about Israel, right? So they're sort of like...
I'm not going to just flick through 2 hours and 22 minutes to find the stat coming up. Where's the research? Emily Becker, are they a researcher or a film producer? Wait. Researcher for forensic architecture. Okay. So not... Jews cancelled. So this is Owen Jones's tweet. Are we just going to see this kind of sporadic claim that could have even just come from like people counting names in newspaper articles or whatever the fuck, like for all we know, and then it just kind of spreads around, just does the rounds? Since Jewish life in Germany always feels so precarious, they also identify much more strongly with Israel than Jewish people in the US do. Okay. And that's from a Spotify thing, so I did ask the question about this earlier, but am I going to take it from here? Probably not. The German question. It's an attention-grabbing name. This is the same podcast. Owen Jones, April 4th. Okay, he's brought that up as well. Why? Where's the research? Oh, we have a 30 IQ in chat. I love how LonerBox community can't see the fact that they don't think Emily's word should be taken at face value, but they take German's word about security at face value. How? No, you're right. Actually, that's a really good point. That's a really, really good point. If some random person in a podcast says, I don't even know if they said that. An article is quoted a 2-hour podcast saying that there's research saying that a third of people who are cancelled, what the f do they mean by cancelled, in Germany are Jewish for supporting Palestine. I'm not taking that at face value, but I have a problem when Germans say that they support Israeli security, and that's why they support Israel, supports security, and I don't jump to the conclusion that what they're saying is what we actually mean, that we support genocide consciously. Oh my God. Are you kidding me, bro? My head's just... I can't even speak properly. My brain's just been shattered into 4 million pieces. Yeah, you're right, though. It could be the case that when they say Israeli security, what they actually mean is genocide of Palestinians. It's not impossible. And without any further investigation, we should just assume that's what they mean and say it on national television. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Also, a third of people who are cancelled in Germany for supposed anti-Semitism have been Jews, because a podcast that's 2 hours 20 long maybe mentions it, but there's no actual research. There's no like paper with findings that we can find. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm gonna kill myself. Like, I mean, I'm not, but fuck me. Let's just maybe he's going to talk about the dispute over humanitarian aid and the breakdown of military exports. We have 2 more minutes.
In Germany for supposed anti-Semitism are themselves Jewish. Is that how Germany thinks it's going to make up for its genocidal past? By targeting Jews. It's also been used.
That's about Germany targeting Jews. Even if this is real, did this happen at university level? Did this happen? Was this the cops? Because cancelled. Was this a media thing? Was this or was this the state targeting Jews? Just like they did in Nazi Germany. Okay, good one. Jesus. Oh, I'll keep this person in chat for being funny as well, for comic value. Greatest comparison. LonerBox would trust Nazi Germany saying they built Autobahn to create jobs, since he trusts Germany when they say they support them for security. How much stretching do you have to do? What does Germany talking about security have to do with them building the Autobahn? You just shoehorned that in because you couldn't think of an example. If you were historically literate, what you would actually say, and still be a for saying so, is you would say, oh, what? You mean when Germany said they were invading Poland for security reasons? Do you believe them? And I would say, no, because I actually have empirical evidence that they fabricated the security threats of Poland, that they've literally staged events so that they could go and invade. And as soon as they invade, they went way past what was considered the security issue, invaded the entire country, opened a ghetto for the Jews, massacred people in the tens of thousands, and then did a Holocaust, right? But I guess you're like, but you're just like, wait, I need to wait. Security. He thinks security. He thinks you shouldn't just jump to the conclusion that a German person says they support Israeli security. And he doesn't think you should just conclude that they mean Palestinian genocide when they say Israeli security. Okay, I need to make an analogy. Nazi. Okay, what did the Nazis do? They built motorways and security. They said security. They must have said security. They were around for a while. More than 10 years. That's you. Is that you at the keyboard in your mind palace looking for gotchas about Nazi Germany? The two things you could think about Nazi Germany was the Autobahn, and I guess you just like, oh, I guess we just go by probability that they spoke about security concerns for some reason. Okay.
To justify racist treatment of German Muslims, portraying them as a hateful fifth column, I've had horrible stories sent to me, including a German shopkeeper who is from Iran. He fled Iran because he's gay. And because he supported a ceasefire in Gaza, he's been racially abused by non-Jewish Germans, saying despicable racist things and trying to force him...
An analogy doesn't have to be precise. You're right. It doesn't have to be precise. Caught him. You can actually just make any analogy you want in that case. You believe the pharaohs when they said they were getting the Irish to build the triangle, the pyramids, because it was for security reasons? Okay, good one, dude. Analogies don't have to be perfect, you know? There seems to be some confusion about what free speech means. Free speech doesn't mean others are obliged to give you a platform or lend you their megaphone or to be forced to listen to you. Neither does it mean the right to say things without being challenged. From 2020. This isn't necessarily like hypocritical. It just depends. We don't know if it's hypocritical because I don't know what the fuck he means by this researcher who said a third of people cancelled for pro-Palestinian activism in Germany are Jews, which is probably one of the most dubious statistics I've ever heard in my life. But again, we can't really look into it because they didn't provide the research. And no, I don't count someone going on a podcast and saying, I did research, here's the stats. That's not actually, even if she said those exact words, that's not, you actually need to provide the data. Are we going to go to the... Why is this part of the video? No, this is the wrong video. I'm so sorry. Right.
To put the Israeli flag on his door. I'd also note, by the way, the statement issued by Namibia on the 13th of January, which was pretty extraordinary, essentially told Germany to shut up and sit down, pointing out that it was the first victim, Namibia that is, of the first genocide of the 20th century at the hands of Germany. That was Germany's first genocide. What an extraordinary thing to have to say out loud. I mean, lots of countries don't have one genocide that they can point to. Germany has actually several, actually, if we're going to get into it, because not only the genocide...
So now we're going to... I thought there was a problem with using Nicaragua's record as an argument, but I guess I don't think he's going to say the same thing about using Germany's history of genocides. Namibia, that was like the first genocide of the 20th century. They killed a fuck ton of people there. A lot of people don't know that.
They committed in Namibia, there's the Shoah, and they also committed specific genocides, for example, against the Roma. Now, we could go on. They have a very, very bleak genocidal past. Now, Namibia wrote, on Namibian soil, Germany committed the first genocide of the 20th century in 1904 to 1908, in which tens of thousands of innocent Namibians died in the most inhumane and brutal conditions. The German government is yet to fully atone for the genocide it's committed.
Was it either Himmler who grew up in... One of the big Nazi guys was actually in Namibia when this was happening. Pre-watched. What, because I know about the genocide in Namibia? Obviously. Coming of the Third Reich. It's in there. Why is that relevant? Don't ask questions. The Herreros, that's what they were called. Colonial practice, deliberate genocide. The German army massacred thousands of Herero men, women, and children, drove many of them into the desert where they starved. Population of 80,000 before the war, they declined to 15. That's such an insane drop. Like, holy shit. Germany, bro. Oh yeah, Tanganyika. I know this place because they mentioned it in Blackadder about basically Germany coming a bit late to the colonial party and just getting a bunch of scraps. It was Goering. Born in Bavaria, upper middle class Bavarian background. His father played a role in the colonization of Namibia. Ah, gotcha. It was Goering. That's how I knew, by the way. I read that book. Okay.
Namibian soil. They rightly denounced Germany's inability to draw lessons from its horrific history. And that's indeed the point here. Germany's making a packet, its arms company, selling arms to Israel, as it wages a genocidal war against the Palestinian people. And we're supposed to believe that's Germany atoning for its genocidal past. It's not atoning for its genocidal past, it's adding to its genocidal past. It's learned nothing, or indeed drawn the exact opposite conclusions it should have drawn. Germany should have made vast reparations to the Jewish people for the abominable crime that it committed. A crime which is so huge, it's beyond the imagination, frankly, of the vast majority of us. It should not have interpreted...
Oh, you found the podcast transcript, Brittany Kahn. Does it have the word cancelled or 30% or a third or 33% or 1 in 3? I see a Jacobin article. Which one of these is it? Transcripts. Oh, the transcript is in the Jacobin article. Jacobin is paywalled. Are they now? Those all right. I hate Jacobins so much. We've had lots of Jacobin memes in the past. Oh God. No, I can't get into it. It's not letting me around the paywall. Oh no. What do I have to do to get some stats here? Can we just... I don't like to skip the hard work, but at the end of the day, everyone else has. Can we just all like acknowledge that Owen has not looked at this transcript or scrutinized this data. He just grabbed it because it agreed with him. He didn't check where it came from or even think to question the logistics of how that stat would even be attainable. But he said it and feels vindicated because it supports the ideology. Can we just say that, please? And move on with our lives? If he has the evidence, he can, or any of his fans have the evidence, they can feel free to show me that this was actually sound research that was done by someone who's not even primarily a researcher. When did Jacobin get paywalled? I have no idea. Why don't you like Jacobin? Because they are ridiculous disinformation merchants. I can show you a few articles specifically, but I've shown in my video essays, I go over Jacobin articles sometimes, especially with Ukraine. Oh God, their articles about Ukraine were so horrible. Where? Oh, isn't she a researcher in architecture? Well, she's a researcher for forensic architecture, yeah. So, okay, cancelled. This is the episode, isn't it? It can't be because it's not this isn't 2 hours long. Hang on. Where was the episode with the transcript? Germany, anti-Semitism, AFD, Palestine. No, this is it. This is the transcript. Yeah, this is supposedly the transcript linked with the podcast. A third? 33%? 30? 3? See all the threes. Oh my God. 30%? Well, that's just the position of the article. Jewish? 60 mentions. Okay. Come on, it must be here. I feel like we're not going to get data with methodology here, are we? Oh, it's cancelled with one L? Wait, cancel. No, there's no mention of cancel. There's not. So maybe the research is sound and it's misquoted because using the word, how would you do that? You would never do research saying like the number of people who were cancelled. What the fuck does that mean? It's like a Lauren Fox word. I was cancelled for... Why was this in The Guardian? Was this an opinion piece or was this just like... Wait, what was where Owen Jones got the claim from? Guardian. Where's this one? This was the article. It's an opinion piece. Oh, it's from The Observer, 1 month old. Kenan Malik. I don't. According to bro, just and then you go here to look for it. You got 2 hour 22 podcast. Can you download it and then transcribe it? Support narcissistic anti-Semitism. Okay. So it's 31st of January. Episodes January 31st. I don't think there's a transcript here, is there? Oh, transcript. So if I go here, and it was called The German Question. Hmm. '31st of January. This is February, so it's earlier. Mohammed Al-Kurd. 28th of January. Neoliberalism. Oh, it's not. No, the transcript's not there. It's not there. Okay, thank you. Wow. It was right there. Where? Denouncing no, that would be the Guardian thing. It's not here, is it? Top 3. Oh, the cost of Germany's guilt poll. This is a different podcast. Oh, it's a different podcast. It's a different episode to the one linked in the Guardian. I've been screaming the answer. Oh, wait. You found her saying it. So apparently she says in the podcast. Let me just bring it up and... Okay. We'll get to the bottom of this. Don't worry. Gotta work so Owen Jones doesn't have to, eh? And increasingly... Oh, God. Increasingly so, I mean, from the list that we keep, the organization that I work for, Diaspora Alliance, which is just the cases that we hear about either in the press or through word of mouth, and that we can confirm. I looked at the numbers for the last year, and I think that 80 to 90% of the people who have been cancelled, censored is actually the appropriate word, precisely because they are state institutions that are cancelling are racialized people. And in the German context, I would say that Jews belong to the racialized, the sort of discourse around the whiteness of Jews that exist in the US doesn't fully apply here. So of the 90% racialized people who have been cancelled or affected by Israel's related cancellations, 30% are Jews. So not research at all, basically. Okay, good. Nice. Diaspora Alliance. I wonder why Diaspora Alliance. Cases that are either in the press or through word of mouth. Did they have anything about this? And also the word cancelled. Okay, yeah. So this is not research at all. This is just someone with an opinion. Like, okay, cool.
That as forcing a people with nothing to do with that crime to pay for it. And now we see the cost. The killing fields of Gaza, where German weapons are used to slaughter Palestinian men, women, and children in vast numbers. Another sordid crime to add to Germany's already grotesque charge sheet. Please like and subscribe. Do leave your comments. We'd love to hear what you think about this. Do share the video. Get the word out. Keep the show the road on patreon.com/OwenJones84. Listen to us on podcast. I'll speak to you soon.
Oh, well, he actually did mention the breakdown. He thinks that it's all German weapons, like German training weapons. Oh, okay, cool. What can you do? That was an incredibly disappointing video, but what can you do? It's just is it disappointing if you know it's going to be bad? I haven't watched a full Owen Jones video in a long time. Yeah, I used to read his articles when I was younger, in my teens and early 20s. I used to think they were really good, but it was every now and then I found him just saying things that couldn't be substantiated. Or I would try to fact check things he had said and just not be able to find any of it. I'm like, where are you getting this from? But then I guess the problem is that these folks just they all just read the same. They all just read the same partisan bullshit. And if one bit of misinformation comes out of one of them, it gets circled around all the rest of them like fucking wildfire, and then suddenly you're living in a world where everyone knows that, you know? Yeah, well, it's not peer review, it's a peer circle jerk, basically. Yeah.